Alcohol. And my credentials, I suppose, for being asked to do this is I run my own business, which is called Gene Alcohol Research and Consultancy Services, or JARCS, and that's broadly about disability issues for opportunities for disabled people. So it's about disability issues in all sorts of opportunities, employment, education, leisure, etc. My business has been going for 10 years, 11 years, and it's sort of slowly consolidated, I suppose, into two main areas, one of which is accessible information and one of which is dyslexia. Those are the two that I'm sort of concentrating on nowadays. So in terms of accessible information, I've always been interested in information because I trained as a librarian in the Enlisted, and contrary to sort of people's opinion that you sit and polish your nails behind the desk, which is what my husband always says. Actually, being a librarian is about disseminating information, and it's about gathering and disseminating information. And I didn't very rarely polish my nails ever. So I've always been interested in information, and about 2006 I became a member of the Scottish Accessible Information Forum, which is a Scottish government funded project which has been going for 11 years, which is sort of to look at policy and standards in producing accessible information. So that's really why I'm here. And in fact, with what happened with SAFE, I joined as an ordinary member, and I didn't sit in my hands because they were trying to promote something. They were going to have a launch of a publication, and I said, "Listen, I think you need some training. Why don't you have a training sort of programs on this instead of just launching it? Because when you go to launch, you get a publication, it goes on your shelf, and end of story." So that sort of started the ball rolling. And 4 years later, we've still got training. They had never done training before, I think. But actually, what actually happened then was that because I was actually being paid by SAFE, I came off the forum, and I'm now their training advisor. Because just to be squeaky clean, that's what you have to do nowadays. So, accessible information. When I say accessible information, what do you think of? In terms, what is your perception of what it is? Yes?
I think of two things. I think one thing is, making sure that things are put in Braille and whatnot, so that people can. I also think of freedom of information, trying to gain access out of public bodies.
Yeah.
So the two things I think of.
Yeah. Anyone else think of plain English? Sorry, I forgot. Very bad names.
I think also written large enough that you can read it, and you can find it somehow. It's accessible. It's in visible places, and it's not a search.
Yeah.
I think also where it's situated or located, you've got to remember that some people do have other, whether it's a physical impairment or mental impairment, that it's got to be easily accessible to them as well, not just in large print, but easily accessible to reach from wheelchairs and various things like that.
I think cultural languages differences as well.
Yeah.
Kind of going through that.
So it's very broad.
There's no barriers.
And it's not just about things like Braille, and which tend to be called alternative formats, are a part of this, but by no means the only or the biggest part. The freedom of information thing isn't what I'm talking about. So that just to get that out of the way, I mean that's a different use of the word. The trouble with the word information is it's used in so many different contexts. You've got information technology, you've got freedom of information, you've got accessible information. What I'm going to be talking about today is written information. It's the information that's used to tell people about things. So really, when I talk about accessible information, I mean information in a format that is readily accessed by the reader, the person that you want to read it. Sometimes accessible information, we're talking about the same text but in different formats. So you've got your I'm not going to call it normal, but your ordinary text that you expect most people to be able to read. You've got braille, you've got large print, audio, in something in DVD or whatever. British Sign Language isn't. So you've got the same text and a different format. But you've also got, in some cases, a different text, different text and format. So that would be like your British Sign Language, because that's been put into a different language. You've got, maybe if you wanted to put stuff into community languages, into other languages. Also Easy Read. Do you know when I'm talking about Easy Read? Sort of text that really makes it more accessible for people's learning disabilities. And also, incidentally, it's text that Easy Read can be text that makes it easier for people who speak another language to access the information in English. And really with Easy Read, what we do is we tend to use pictures as well, so that you can help use pictures to support the text, and that's sort of it's trying to simplify the language down more than you maybe would need to do for other people, and I think it's when people talk about plain English, it's good. Yeah, I mean, we want to plain English. Don't use 4 words when, or don't use 10 words when 4 will do, as much as possible. But you've got to think in the context of what that, what you're writing and who you're writing it for. For example, an astrophysicist would use different language if she was talking to her, or they were talking to her, he or she were talking to their peers. But if an astrophysicist is trying to explain to you and me what astrophysics is, they would use different language. So it is about using plain language in some contexts, but not necessarily in all contexts. Because an astrophysicist who was talking to peers, and if they did it in very simple language, that wouldn't be regarded as it. So it's using a language that is appropriate for the situation, and sometimes that does mean that you maybe have to produce something in 2 different versions just for that sake. An example was last 2 years ago I was doing some work on the Adult Sport and Protection Act with older people. It was for age concerned. So there was an Easy Read version on the internet which had been written for people with learning disabilities. I was wanting to give something out to older people over 65, so, which was, I kept thinking, God, I'm not far off that myself. It was I didn't feel as if I did it better.